This video is for guidance and education. Please make sure you watch the full video to the end, because the later sections explain the key risks associated with different types of investments and will help you make more informed decisions before putting your money anywhere. This video is for guidance and education. Please make sure you watch the full video to the end, because the later sections explain the key risks associated with different types of investments and will help you make more informed decisions before putting your money anywhere.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating financial tool that honestly, almost anyone can use, but far too few people truly understand. We are talking about money market funds. We're going to discover exactly how you can safely make your idle cash actually work for you, generating a nice little return without making you lose sleep at night. So if you've ever wondered what on earth to do with money that you know you're going to need soon, you are absolutely in the right place.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll start with number 1, the safe parking space. Then, number 2, how the fund operates. Number 3, ADA's rent money strategy. Number 4, why choose this fund? And finally, number 5, comparing your investment options.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the safe parking space, a simple analogy.
I want you to think of your hard-earned cash kind of like a car. Now, if you just leave that car parked out on the street, it's risky, right? It's exposed to the elements, or even worse, it might get dinged up or get a parking ticket. On the flip side, if you lock it away in a heavy-duty, long-term underground storage garage, sure, it's incredibly safe, but man, it's a massive headache to get it out if you suddenly just need to run to the grocery store. A money market fund is that perfectly secure, easily accessible, short-term parking space for your cash. Your money's protected, it's right there when you need it, and it's doing exactly what you need it to do while it waits.
So what is it, technically? Well, a money market fund is basically just a simple investment account that's specifically designed to be a safer alternative to riskier investments. It preserves incredibly easy access to your cash, but, and here's the kicker, it completely outperforms ordinary idle cash that's just sitting in a standard checking account doing absolutely nothing. Listen, it's not about getting rich quick. It's just about really smart short-term cash management.
Let's look under the hood in section 2, how the fund operates behind the scenes.
Instead of you going out and trying to hunt down secure, high-quality investments all by yourself, imagine a giant cooperative savings pool. An expert professional fund manager gathers cash from a bunch of different investors, people just like you and me, into one massive pool. And this combined buying power, it's a game changer. It unlocks the doors to big league financial instruments that a single individual with a smaller amount of cash just wouldn't be able to access on their own.
So the manager takes this massive pool of cash and strategically spreads it across highly secure, short-term instruments. We're talking about things like government-backed treasury bills, solid bank deposits, commercial papers from massive corporations, and fixed deposits. And because these instruments are so short-term, the fund manager is constantly turning the money over, always adapting to grab the best current interest rates. The best part of all this? When these secure investments generate income, the fund turns around and shares that income right back with you.
Okay, section 3, ADA's rent money strategy. Let's turn this theory into practice.
Let's meet Ada. Let's say Ada just had a stellar month at work and received a 1 million Naira salary bonus. Awesome, right? But here is the catch. She absolutely must keep this money safe because she's planning to use it to pay her rent, which is due in exactly 4 months. She can't risk losing a single dime of it in the stock market, but she also knows that just leaving it in her regular checking account means it earns, well, basically nothing.
Now, if Ada parks her bonus in a money market fund with, let's estimate a 12% annual return, she could quietly earn about 40,000 Naira extra before fees and taxes. Think about that for a second. She's not taking on the massive, unpredictable risks of the stock market. She is literally just waiting to pay her landlord, and in the meantime, her money is doing a little bit of heavy lifting for her in the background.
You can see how smooth this timeline is. In month 0, she invests the 1 million Naira.
Then, all through months 1, 2, and 3, her principal amount stays completely safe, while that small income steadily grows right on top of it. Then, right at month 4, she effortlessly withdraws everything she needs exactly when the rent is actually due. It's honestly the perfect strategic holding pattern. Moving right along to Section 4, why choose this fund? The 4 main uses. So, our sources outline 4 primary uses for this, and you'll notice they all revolve around 2 things: timing and safety. First up, it's the absolute ideal holding pen for emergency money. Unexpected medical bills or suddenly needing an urgent transmission repair for your car. Second, plan short-term goals like upcoming school fees, rent, or maybe wedding expenses. Third, it's brilliant for what we call waiting money. Say you have cash you eventually want to throw into the stock market, but you're just waiting for the right moment. You park it here. And finally, business cash. Companies use these funds constantly to hold their cash safely until next month's payroll hits or a looming tax bill is due.
And that brings us to Section 5, comparing your investment options, the macro view. So let's look at the big picture. A regular savings account gives you very easy access, but let's be real, the return is virtually non-existent. It's strictly for daily transactions. A fixed deposit restricts your access until maturity, and if you touch it early, you're getting penalized. Then you have stocks, which give you long-term growth, but the risk is way higher and the value fluctuates wildly. When we contrast all of these, the money market fund clearly emerges as the Goldilocks choice, right? It perfectly balances usually easy access with low risk, tailored exactly for short-term parking.
It's really all about equilibrium. You are weighing the very real need to avoid having totally idle cash that just gets silently eaten up by inflation against the immense danger of exposing your vital short-term money to high-risk assets. A money market fund sits right there in the middle, keeping your financial scale perfectly balanced.
Ultimately, this brings us to what I consider a golden rule of personal finance. The purpose of the money determines the right investment. You absolutely do not chase high, aggressive returns with your rent money. You don't gamble your emergency medical fund, because the very moment you understand the exact purpose of your cash, it immediately dictates where it rightfully belongs.
So, I'm going to leave you with this provocative question to ponder today. I want you to look at the cash sitting idle in your checking or savings account right now. Really ask yourself, what is its true purpose? And once you know that, decide if it's currently parked in the right place or if it's finally time to move it to a much more secure, productive parking lot. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.
If this message opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs wisdom, clarity, and inspiration today. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful lesson. Remember, knowledge becomes power only when you act on it. See you in the next video.
Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're moving way past the abstract financial theory and diving straight into the practical, everyday application of money market funds. We know what they are on paper, right? But how do we actually use them in the real world to optimize our cash flow? Well, let's get into it. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to quickly hit the idle cash dilemma, weigh the balance of risk, establish the time horizon rule, walk through a due diligence checklist, outline common investor traps, and then wrap it all up with the disciplined parking space. All right, part 1, the idle cash dilemma. Basically, what to do with your short-term cash. So this is a highly relatable, real-world problem we all face at some point. Think about this for a second. What actually happens to your cash while it just waits? When your uninvested cash is just sitting there completely idle in a current account, you aren't just maintaining the status quo. You are actively missing out on hidden opportunities. Let's look at exactly what that means in practice. Okay, imagine a really practical example. Say a small business receives a client payment of 5 million naira. Great, right? But they don't actually need to pay their own suppliers for another 6 weeks. That creates a distinct 6-week gap. If that money just sits idle, it earns literally zero income, plus it carries that nagging temptation of being spent on other things. But by placing it into a money market fund for that short window, that gap suddenly transforms into an income-generating opportunity. The money stays safe, it remains highly liquid, and by the time week 6 rolls around, the business has more cash than it started with to pay those exact same bills. It's a no-brainer. Moving right along to part 2. The balance of risk. We absolutely have to weigh the pros and cons here. Look, to use these tools effectively, you've got to be completely objective. It's all about balancing the undeniable perks with some pretty sobering realities. On the benefit side, these funds are incredibly useful. They offer fantastic accessibility, professional management, and built-in diversification, all with relatively low risk. You aren't just relying on a single bank's health. But you've got to acknowledge the limitations. A money market fund is not the same thing as a guaranteed bank account. Returns are going to fluctuate when market interest rates drop. Management fees will absolutely eat into your final return. And, you still face potential liquidity risk if everyone tries to withdraw at once, or credit risk if an underlying issuer fails to pay up. It's really like balancing a giant golden scale. You are constantly weighing that tension. While the risk is relatively low, it is never zero. A disciplined investor never just blindly looks at the benefits. You have to weigh those against the warning signs. It just requires a bit of careful consideration before you deposit your hard-earned cash. All right, part 3, the time horizon rule. This is all about matching your investments to your specific timeline. This right here is the absolute golden rule, the central heuristic every single investor needs. You just have to ask yourself one question: when do I actually need this money? If it's money you're going to need soon, like for rent next month, an upcoming business expense, or a sudden emergency, your entire focus must be on stability and liquidity. That's exactly where money market funds shine. But actually, scratch that. If it's money you need in years, say for retirement or a kid's university education down the line, your focus has to shift entirely to capital appreciation and growth. Money market funds simply will not provide the long-term wealth creation you need for those distant goals. You basically have 2 entirely different paths you can take. On one hand, you're trying to preserve cash. On the other, you're trying to plant a seed and grow a massive tree. Money market funds are strictly for preserving cash for those short-term needs. They aren't a replacement for carefully selected stocks, bonds, or real estate. The golden rule: simply match your investments to your time horizon. Which brings us to part 4, the due diligence checklist: how to actually vet your fund. Okay, let's take this out of the theoretical and make it highly actionable. Before you invest a single naira, you need to run through this checklist. First up, is the fund managed by a reputable and licensed asset management company? Don't just assume they are. Actively confirm their registration and look into their operating history. Second, what instruments does the fund actually invest in under the hood? You want to see a healthy mix of treasury bills, commercial papers, and fixed deposits. If you notice a fund is concentrating everything into just one risky asset or a single issuer, that is a massive red flag. Walk away. Now, let's talk about a specific number for a second. 14%. A fund might flash a 14% annual yield on a shiny billboard or on a sleek app, but pause and ask yourself, is that before or after fees? A flashy 14% can be highly misleading once you actually deduct the management fees, taxes, and all those hidden charges to find what we call your true net return. Continuing with our checklist, you absolutely must check how quickly you can withdraw your money. Think about it. If you need that cash for rent next week, you cannot afford a fund with a long, drawn-out notice period. You need same-day or 24-hour access, tops. Also, check the minimum investment amount. If you only have 50,000 naira to start, make sure the fund actually accepts that. Remember to always compare those net returns, not just the headline yields. And lastly, just ensure the fund actually aligns with what you're trying to achieve. Part 5, Common Investor Traps. Let's talk about what you need to avoid. It's super easy for beginners to step into a total minefield of mistakes here. First rule, never, ever make chasing the highest yield your sole strategy. It usually means higher hidden risks. You also can't just assume these funds are completely risk-free, like we talked about. Credit and liquidity risks are always lurking. Make sure you don't ignore the withdrawal rules and accidentally lock yourself out of your own cash when you need it most. Also, don't mistakenly misuse these short-term funds for long-term goals like retirement. Inflation will just eat your returns alive. And again, always compare net returns after taxes and fees. And frankly, just never invest a dime without a crystal clear, specific objective. So basically, a high advertised yield should never act like a blindfold. Every single investment needs a clear purpose. When you manage to avoid these 6 common mistakes, you stop treating the fund like some sort of speculative gamble and start using it as the disciplined cash management tool it was actually designed to be. And finally, part 6, the disciplined parking space. Let's bring all of this together. If you only remember one single thing from this entire explainer, let it be this definition right here. Think of a money market fund as a disciplined parking space. That perfectly demystifies what this tool actually is. It's simply a safe place for your cash that absolutely must remain available to you while still working just hard enough in the background to earn a reasonable return. It's not the racetrack where you make your millions. It's the parking garage where you keep your vehicle safe and ready to go. And this really just ties the whole shebang together. A money market fund gives you accessibility, relatively low risk, and modest income. It's the absolute ideal, practical option for very specific jobs. Building up your emergency safety net, hitting those short-term savings goals within a year or two, safely parking operational business cash, or just holding money for upcoming planned expenses. So I'm going to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Take a hard look at your own bank accounts today. Look at the money just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Based on the rules and checklists we've just gone through, is your idle cash parked in the right garage? Think about it. Until next time, keep learning, stay focused, and go make your cash work for you.
If this message opened your mind, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who needs wisdom, clarity, and inspiration today. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next powerful lesson. Remember, knowledge becomes power only when you act on it. See you in the next video.
Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition. Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition. Welcome to the quiz section, Fastest Finger Edition.